Okay, let's go to the dark side of crypto, right?
I love that shit.
Three things. So one is, let's talk about what we'll call, air quotes, professional investors, right? So funds and venture capitalists, et cetera, buying tokens at huge discounts and not disclosing positions and then dumping on retail. What
the shitcoin waterfall? I love the shitcoin waterfall.
All right, so explain kind of your perspective as to what's been going on. Really, I think some of it hopefully is dissipating a little bit, but maybe not as fast as we want it to. But explain kind of how that happens and then where you think things need to change.
Sure. So I'll quickly describe the shitcoin waterfall. It's a terrible way of saying something, but okay. So the shitcoin waterfall is this: you get a bunch of people together, and they're like, "We want to do this crypto project. We're going to build a decentralized computing protocol." Right? Great. And so they go to a small group of investors, typically insiders, known people in the crypto space. They're like, "Hey, we're doing a pre-seed round. We're doing like a pre-sale. We're going to give you tokens at this price." And everyone writes their checks and they raise a couple $1,000,000. Great. They then get to go market and hire more people. And then they get to a point where they put out a white paper or something more articulated to the market, and they go to a bigger group of investors and institutions. They're like, "Hey,"
who are less on the inside.
Yep. Right? And they're like, "Hey, we're doing a pre-sale. Look at the people in this pre-sale. They're awesome. But we're doing pre-sale now, and we're going to give you a price that is 10x what they paid." Okay, great. So they pay 10x more, and then they're like, "Okay, we're going to pre-sale, bigger audience, less informed, you get less information, less insight." And they're like, "Hey, we're going to let you in, and it's at 100x what the pre-sale people paid and 10x what the pre-sale people paid." So you create this laddered structure, right? And this kind of resembles liquidation preferences, right, in a traditional corporation. And so you have this structure, and then they're like, "Okay, we're going to list the tokens on the market." And they have all of these announcements, and they're going around telling their pre-sale investors, like, "Hey, here's our plan. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what's going on." And then the pre-sale investors, by the way, all collaborate together to say, "Okay, we're going to buy, we're going to sell." They can manipulate the price of these assets. And actually, my research team's been working on analyzing movement of coins, like the network topology of some of these tokens through the process of listing and how that sort of evolves over time. There's some shady shit people do. And what ends up happening is people start dumping their coins on the market. Retail starts buying it. There's this narrative that gets created, like, "This is an amazing coin. Look at how innovative it is.
Look who backed it."
Right? Look at the founders. This is amazing. This is so phenomenal. They do a bunch of marketing. They throw a bunch of events. They do maybe a couple of press releases or partnerships or announcements where they're paying people for partnership. And then retail buys up these tokens. Everyone's exited their position, and it just starts dumping. And the thing is, the reason the shitcoin waterfall has worked historically is because investors knew there was always a buyer of last resort who was not them. I think in this market right now, because retail has lost their appetite, there is no buyer of last resort. It's institutions selling bags to one another. And so I think ultimately this just becomes a game of who gets the most information the fastest and who can dump the fastest.
Absolutely. Well, and it now leads us to a problem of how much capital inflow is actually going on versus are we just recycling funds, right?
And I think the circularity of capital is really problematic. And you see this, like, when a venture funds invest in a crypto protocol, they do an ICO, they raise money from other VCs, they then take that money and give it to another VC to invest in more startups who then create tokens that the VC buys, that then the protocols. It's like the circularity is incredible. And I think part of it is there is no utility for these tokens. They're speculative assets for ideas that are poorly implemented in some cases. And look, it's not a criticism. I sympathize with people with really big visions and are trying to build them. But I think the circularity of capital problem, if everyone's motivated by financial return, what ends up happening is you have people who have a short time frame, they have a short attention span, and the minute that it's no longer worth spending a minute of time on a project because you're not going to get any juice out of it, what's your incentive as an investor to spend time on it?